Good day, grade 9 students. I am your pre-service teacher from Tarlac State University, Christine Claire P. Mateo. Our topic for today is all about Pythagorean theorem. Again, our topic for today is all about Pythagorean theorem. At the end of the discussion, the students will be able to define Pythagorean theorem, understand and prove the Pythagorean theorem, and lastly, apply Pythagorean theorem in solving real-life problems. Pythagorean theorem is named after the Greek mathematician Pythagoras. No? So again, it is named after the Greek mathematician Pythagoras. Pythagorean theorem. In a right triangle, so let's have here our right triangle with sides A, B, and C. So C is the hypotenuse and the legs are A and B. So the square of the length of the hypotenuse, so the hypotenuse is C. So yung square daw ng length ng hypotenuse, since hypotenuse is C, that would be C squared, is equal to the sum of the square of the lengths of its legs, meaning the sum of A squared and B squared. So meron tayong A squared is equal plus A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So this is the Pythagorean theorem. Pwede rin naman siyang baliktad. Pwede namang C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. So again, that is Pythagorean theorem. Let's apply Pythagorean theorem in finding the length or the missing length of a right triangle. So for example, number 1, the length of hypotenuse is missing or C is missing. So for A, we have 1 and B, we also have 1. So we have here C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Let's substitute our given. That would be C squared is equal to 1 squared plus 1 squared. 1 squared is equal to 1. So that would be 1 plus 1. Let's simplify. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Let's get the square root of both sides. The square root of C squared is equal to the square root of 2, since the square root of C squared is equal to C and the square root of 2 is square root of 2. This is our final answer. C is equal to the square root of 2, or the length of the hypotenuse is square root of 2. Square root of 2 ang final answer since we cannot simplify square root of 2 anymore. So kapag hindi na siya pwedeng i-simplify, okay na yung ganyang answer. Let's proceed to example number 2. So we have here again right triangle with the sides A, B, and C. So for this example, A is missing, but we have the given for B and C. So again, we have C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Let's substitute the given. So for C, we have 5. So meron tayong 5 squared is equal to A squared plus 4 squared, because B is equal to 4, kaya siya 4 squared. 5 squared is equal to 25, and 4 squared is equal to 16. Kaya siya naging 25 equals A squared plus 16. Let's transpose 16 to the other side, kaya siya naging 25 minus 16. So 25 minus 16 is equal to A squared. Let's simplify. 9 is equal to A squared. Let's get the square root of both sides. That would be the square root of 9 equals the square root of A squared. The square root of 9 is 3 and the square root of A squared is A. So A is equal to 3, or the length of the other leg is equal to 3. Let's proceed to example number 3. So again, we have here right triangle with sides A, B, and C. So A is 6, C is 10, and the length of B or side B is missing. So let's use the Pythagorean theorem in finding the length of side B. So we have here C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Let's substitute the given. We have 10 squared is equal to 6 squared plus B squared. 10 squared is equal to 100 and 6 squared is equal to 36. So kaya meron tayong 100 equals 36 plus B squared. Let's transpose 36 to the other side. Kaya siya merong 100 minus 36 equals B squared. 100 minus 36 is equal to 64. That's why we have 64 equals b squared. Let's get the square root of both sides. The square root of 64 is equal to the square root of b squared. The square root of 64 is 8 and the square root of b squared is b. So b is equal to 8. Okay, example number 4. The length of a side of a square is 4. Find the length of its diagonal. Again, the length of a side of a square is 4. Find the length of its diagonal. So let's illustrate. Yan. So meron tayong square. Sabi niya, the length of a side of a square is 4. Yan. So meron tayong square. And ang length ng side niya is 4. So sabi niya dito, a side of a square is 4. So bakit naging 4 lahat ng length ng side? Because again, a square is equilateral. Again, equilateral. Ibig sabihin, all sides are equal. No? And we're looking for the length of its diagonal. So kung mapapansin ninyo, we formed a right triangle. So ito, we formed a right triangle. Ayan. So for A, we have 4. And for B, we also have 4. And the hypotenuse C, yan. Let's solve for the length of the diagonal or the hypotenuse of the right triangle. So again, we have C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Let's substitute the given. We'll have C squared is equal to 4 squared plus 4 squared. 4 squared is equal to 16. That's why we'll have 16 plus 16. Let's simplify. 16 plus 16 is equal to 32. That's why we'll have C squared is equal to 32. Let's get the square root of both sides. The square root of C squared is equal to the square root of 32. The square root of C squared is C. Na? So, yung square root of 32, 32 is not a perfect square. So, para ma-simplify natin siya, let's get the factors of 32. And the factors na pwede natin gamitin is 2 and 16. No? 2 and 16. So, since we already have the factors, let's simplify. The square root of 16 is 4, kaya nilabas natin yung 4. And the square root of 2 is hindi na siya pwedeng ilabas or hindi na siya pwedeng kunin yung square root niya. Kaya siya naging 4 square root of 2. So, the length of the diagonal is C is equal to 4 square root of 2, or the length of diagonal is 4 square root of 2. So, that's all for today. Thank you and God bless.